feminine isn't honored, which is something I hadn't thought about in that term before. But what I thought about was women, Western women, the feminine has, like you said, abandoned the feminine in favor of the masculine. Women have to do everything a man does. They have to be just as strong as us. They have to be just as everything as us. To what's happening today is women have to be just as polyamorous as we are. You know, they want to be the dogs we are. But they're abandoning the feminine, and in the same conversation, they're demonizing the masculine. From men are toxic, men are dogs, men are this, men are that. Demonizing and alienating the parts of what makes masculine masculine, while trying to move into that and be that, and then put that masculine into a feminine container. Like, that's what's happening in our society. And I think all of these conversations are men defining for our society what masculine is.
Saying, you said men defining what masculine is missing, or?
No, what it is. Not what it's missing, because I don't think there's a conversation. I don't think there's a real conversation about, especially among women, about what men are. Women will tell you, oh, I know exactly what men are, all day long. But they don't really have an understanding of what masculine is.
Feminine energy doesn't have to, doesn't need to, is not required by society to do that. Problems, negativity, they go up the chain of command, not down the chain of command. So in a context that feminine has never been sought to lead in that way, feminine, it's coming out now that there's so much with the equality conversations. There's just direct correlation. Okay, well, if not this, then that. Having to look at, and the missing thing is the accountability, because society has still, even if you can do everything, being that you're a woman, has not required accountability for actions. And what I mean that, not just like written rules, you can go and do shit as a woman and the next day be fine. You can, a guy cannot choose to set up OnlyFans, cannot choose to take the same path, cannot walk down the street and be treated the same way. We were even talking about it. Sit on your ass and do nothing, you're lazy, you're a bum, you're looked at by society. Versus a woman, it can be anything. You can be exploring yourself. Whatever.
You can sit back and, like, you know, I mean, go to Italy and eat chocolate. So whatever that movie was.
It's the truth of it. Because that influence.
Just figuring myself out.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
As the men, masculine. But to that, the conversation of women understanding men, they can, not even can from an access, like they have no access, unless they have experienced or, you know, vicariously through a father figure role model and with depth conversations getting to bond with, and they don't need to know the healthiest dynamic of the dance, because someone's got to lead. Someone's got to stand in the masculine, someone's got to stand in the feminine. So if the leader is not complaining to feminine, is not bringing the challenges and things that may break feminine in thought process, then they wouldn't understand. They wouldn't know how men think, why men think. They know the experience of, this is what I've gotten.
And that's what they speak to. You're right.
And that does not tell you the why, because it's no different, right? The complaint coming from masculine that, here's the logical, here's the data, here's the reality, it doesn't make sense. Looking at feminine, expecting feminine, which, and I'm speaking, when I say the masculine or feminine, I'm talking to the energy. It can be man or woman, whichever partner is standing in which, that's their individual choice. But the feminine energy communicates and feels, just like you were talking about, they're ready to cop out or it's too hard. It sounds feminine because it is. It is that man in his feminine. He is no less of a man. He has feminine energy. That's a fucking human trait. We all have both. So inside of that, feminine energy is a, you know, speaking even back to the men, is a generation not willing to take the accountability of, it's my choice to stay in this bottom 90%. It's my choice to step up where I can get access to Western women, Eastern women, like it wouldn't matter where you go, first and foremost. To your conversation of women understanding that in masculine, is because of that in the missing of understanding, like you said, to masculine energy, not just men, because society still expects men to be masculine. Even if they're not, even if that's not the cultural standard at this point, it is looked at and assumed that way. There is a layer of conversation that has never been paid attention to properly. As it occurs to me, just observing hindsight 50-50, 40s to 60s era, when it becomes a time of, all right, no more be in your place, close your mouth, whatever, at least in Western cultures, the equality conversation, feminine conversations grow from there. At that point, more and more of the scale to bring the equality pushed into, as it occurs to me, the range of masculine respect, honoring, knowledge, understanding, viewed as toxic, unhealthy, doesn't work, boys will be boys, and nowadays that, even that translation has been made bad, wrong, whatever. The context of missing that balance is what we're speaking to. What I hear we're speaking to is that masculine being misunderstood, misrepresented, not truly for what its core energy is. You do have either the outliers standing out, the hyper-masculine, toxic masculine, or completely missing of masculine. There's no healthy standard range of, and that's what it looks like. To the same reverse, feminine has mutilated its value to try and be equal to. It removes polarity, it removes the dance, removes the attraction, removes the
yin yang of it.
Exactly, the flow and dance of what culture is experiencing. And to that, the missing part for women, because society is not pressuring. They can choose to do everything, and they are still not expected or required to function and navigate through life in the world of men and or masculine. There's a deeper conversation that, because there's a missing to both energies, period, because the feminine is misunderstood as well. As the masculine side, there's a lack of respect to take it back to the primitive origins. The women sitting around at the village, getting the berries, raising the children, do whatever it takes to keep the network, the community inside these village walls. We're not fucking worried about how those men come back with a dead lion. We're not worried about how they killed that other village of 1,000 motherfuckers that would have taken us over, raped us, and wiped us out of existence.
They care that the men come back.
They weren't worried about, did y'all do it ethically? Did y'all leave them with enough food for the winter? None of that shit. The world of masculine, when it's live or die, is a whole other conversation, and rightfully so. It's not in the dance. We're now in a society that is so effeminate, not from the feminist conversation, from the it's safe, it's protected, we don't need all that raw masculine energy. Then it's considered hostile. Then it has nowhere to go. It's not properly expressed. It's not healthily balanced. And so there's a missing of understanding when I say the masculine conversation. We've never been in society where you needed to. And with so much emphasis over half a century of equality, there was a misunderstanding of equal human beings, and we are not the same. Neither is fully appreciated. Neither is in balance.
And I think that's the challenge.
Like, exactly. That's where the start is. Where there's passport bros, where there's sex toys, where there's whatever. There's a bunch of motherfuckers, 8 billion on this planet. We're designed to do something together. It shouldn't be that hard to just let it happen. But with an understanding of the energies, and that's what we can't see. You can't see masculine energy. You can't see feminine energy. It's just not the
And we're so caught up on talking about penises versus pussies instead of masculine versus feminine.
You're saying there's double standards. And it's absolutely true. I think that's a missing in the conversation. It really is understanding both energies, because it's not a double standard if you're looking at two different things. You can be looking at human beings, man and woman, same. It's not a fucking double standard if one is stepping into the masculine energy and one is flowing in the feminine energy. If one is choosing to lead, contain, be responsible, accountable, all the things that we're talking about the world of men and women. So to then say, oh, well, no, we're just the same. No, the fuck we're not. And you don't want it to be that way. That's depolarizing. There's no attraction. What's going to draw together if everybody's the fucking same?
I don't want a woman who looks and acts like a man.